and welcome to... I read this like at beginning of October, and I just got to filming it now, so... it's November. I listened to Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I saw like a little Instagram reel being like, oh, when this girl falls in love with death and they're meant to be together, and I was like, that sounds cute, not gonna lie, I think I'm gonna check that out. And so I bought it on Audible and I really enjoyed it. Belladonna is about this girl. Her name is Sigma Farrow, which, by the way, fucking fantastic name. Love that name. I don't know, it glides off the tongue. It's fun. So Sigma, when she was a baby, everyone that she knew basically died at this party. And when Death went to collect them all, he touched Sigma, and he, instead of seeing her life, he saw her future. And he was like, that's weird. That's the first part of the book. We learn that Sigma Farrow can't die. She's been passed from guardian to guardian because they keep dying under mysterious circumstances. She thinks she's cursed. And she has a hatred for death. And she only ever sees death when she's dying or dead, you know, but since she can't die, she just kind of like comes back to life. But she notices that she was a very young age, like she accidentally broke her neck, and like she looked over and she just saw a man in shadows, and she eats poisoned berries all the time, and she's always seeing him there. So she thinks she's cursed because death follows her wherever she goes. She is currently 19. She is set to inherit her fortune when she turns 20 in like a few months. Her current guardian right now is like, in the first few chapters of the book, her current guardian thinks she's a witch and hates her and all of that. Then she accidentally touches her while she's dead, and she kills her guardian. She blames it on death, and then she ends up at this new guardian's house. It's the Hawthorne Mansion, which is weird because I'm currently reading the Hawthorne Legacy, whatever. She ends up at this Hawthorne Manor, and she meets this girl named Blythe who is dying, and she has decided that she needs to figure out who is poisoning her because she is assuming that she's not just sick, that she's being poisoned, and death is helping her along the way, right? That's the basis premise of it, okay? I'm gonna try, and instead of just telling you about the entire plot of the book, just tell you about my thoughts. This is a new take, you know? Because I feel like anytime I do a book review, I literally just tell you everything about the book, and I just go, that's all those are my thoughts. I really liked this book, but I think I mainly liked it because I was listening to it. If you haven't read this book, I highly recommend getting the Audible version of it because it's incredible. Death's voice is like super low and like grainy, and I loved it. And like the girl's voice acting for this, like she really put on a show for me. She really gave it her all, and I was so here for it. I had a great time. I think I would have rated this lower had I been reading it. But listening to it was just such a delight. I was just vibing. It was like a little spooky, a little gothic. I was having a great time. The plot is a murder mystery, right? And I don't know why so many like fantasy-esque books right now are just using murder mystery as a plot. I'm not a huge fan of the murder mystery type, especially when it's so like cut and dry murder mystery, like it feels like you're playing a game of Clue, you know? It's not my favorite. I think that there are more creative ways to move the plot around than just like a murder, and I feel like it's kind of like, I mean, I'm supportive of like murder mysteries. I think they can be done really well, but I feel like in this case it was very much just like to move the plot versus like a really creative. It's fine, I still had a good time, but I think that it would have been interesting to go somewhere else with it. But Sigma Farrow, basically, in this book, not only is she trying to solve the murder of Blythe, who she doesn't want to die and she thinks is being poisoned, but she's also like trying to be accepted into high society because she's like super rich, and she's never really been in high society. She just keeps being passed to guardian, and they really only use her for like the money they get for taking care of her. So she doesn't really interact with a lot of people. She's pretty socially awkward. I think I liked the story, but we could have seen better, you know? So like, cause I didn't understand why she was trying to be in high society and like why she was trying to make her debut as like an eligible bachelorette, you know? Like, I didn't understand why, because she can literally spend the rest of her days living in this cute little fucking cottage by the sea and never need a man, and yet she is choosing to, like, go to tea parties and learn about, like, how to be a proper lady when she could just continue her life in a cottage with no cares, you know? So I didn't understand why it was, like, such a prominent part of the book. So it was either, like, we're talking about murder mystery, we're talking about trying to become a lady and what eligible bachelors there are for her, or we're talking about how much we hate death. You know, like, those were the three things that were happening in this book, and I feel like there just could have been more, you know? There could have been something else. Technically, this is enemies to lovers. I liked it as enemies to lovers a little better than some other books because it is a little more of a slow burn, because she really hates death. She blames death for everything, and death is like, I don't know why you're so upset. Like, she's like, you just always follow me around, and he's like, if you eat poisoned berries, I have to show up and do my, if you summon me, if you die, I have to be here as part of my job. So she's a little stupid. Sigma's a little stupid. Yeah, she is like, I hate you, you're the bane of my existence, death is bad, until she's all of a sudden like, actually, he's kind of hot. And that's the other thing I didn't understand, is she's like, yeah, death is actually super hot, but death is constantly just like swarmed in shadows. So I don't understand how she could think he was hot, because he has no shape to him. He is just a blob of black mist. It's fine. For being a god of, like, you know, death and stuff like that, I feel like he helps her quite a bit. So I had a main issue with, like, her trying to fit into high society when it wasn't necessary. I think it would have been a lot more interesting if she was like, why would I fit into high society? Why would I try and do that when I literally have all of the means to live by myself and live how I want, you know? I think that would have been more of an interesting, like, development for her character. And then I feel like the enemies to lovers was, like, it could have gone harder. I feel like it was, like, a nice slow burn, and then, like, halfway through she just, like, forgot about it and was like, whatever, let's just have them get together. I don't even remember when. Like, there was no turning point, you know? Like, usually when I read an enemies to lovers, like, I want to see them be enemies, I want to see the hatred, and then, because I love the enemies to lovers trope. So I want to see them be enemies, and then I want to see them, like, you know, be, like, maybe working together, and then maybe lovers. There was just, we're enemies, never mind, we're kissing, oh, we're great, we're having the best time, we care about each other so much. And I let it slip because I really liked how death sounded in the audiobook, but if I was reading it, I think I would have had a little more a little more to say about that. So the enemies to lovers bit, like, I think it could have been done better, but I'll allow it because I was having a great time. And then also, like, the murder mystery, I don't know, I feel like it was just, like, a very convenient thing to move the plot along, you know? Like, I think it was, like, kind of fun. I think there were several other more interesting plots she could have gone with, and I feel like it was just, like, a little predictable, you know? Which is fine. I mean, it's also, let's remember that this is a young adult book. I'm not gonna rate a young adult book as harshly as I would a new adult book, or, like, something like that, you know? Like an adult book meant for me, because this is definitely meant for people who are younger than me. This is meant for, like, teenagers in high school, you know? So, like, I'm not gonna rate this the same way I would rate a book that's meant for people in my age group, you know? It's a young adult book, I'm gonna rate it a little more lenient. In the middle, it definitely, like, lagged a little bit, and then I feel like the whole, like, reveal was a little predictable. I won't go much into that, but I just felt like it was a little predictable. I didn't like how the end is, like, a cliffhanger of, like, there's another murder mystery, because I really don't want to, I don't want it to be the same plot, and I feel like it's very hard to write two books that are murder mysteries and not make them feel too similar. I also think, like, Sigma Farrow's character was interesting. I can't hate on how fast the slow burn ended, because Sigma just, anytime a man touches her, she is like, maybe I'll spend the rest of my life with him. Which, like, a vibe, I guess, but I just thought it was funny. Like, this Duke dude or whatever brings her on a dance, and she's like, actually, I can see myself being with him for the rest of my life. And then the stable boy, like, holds her hip, and she's like, wow, I've never felt like this before. And then Death is like close to her and she's like, actually we need to kiss. You know, like she's just after any man that gives her any attention, which I think is like an interesting choice. I don't know. I would have liked her to be a little more independent. I feel like she was not that independent. Not that she needs to be a girl boss, you know, but like there could have been more. There is going to be a second book. It's coming out in August. It's going to be Foxglove. I am excited about that book. However, I am worried that it is going to join the It Could Have Been One book club, you know? Because I feel like this could have been a great one book. I feel like instead of doing a murder mystery, it would have been more fun for her to accept death. Like, she starts off hating death because it takes away everything that she loves, right? And she sees him all the time every time she dies, and she's just like, oh, he's just so horrible. Death is so awful and violent and cruel. But I would have loved if, like, the enemies to lovers, like, arc was, like, her slowly realizing that, like, death is, like, peaceful and welcoming. I feel like I read this book and I was like, nice. That was fun. But I feel like I could have, like, read this book, had it been, like, a little different. I could have read this book and been like, and now I've had some time to reflect on my life while also reading a silly little fun book. If it had been, like, Sigma being like, I hate death, it takes everything away from me, it took away my parents, it takes away my guardians, like, it's evil, and then, like, slowly realizing death is healing, and it takes away people's pain, and it takes away people's, like, sorrow, and it is, like, you know, all of, like, it's beautiful, and, like, all of that. Like, I feel like that would have been a beautiful story with, like, all of the gothic elements, and I think it would have been interesting to have life, just instead of her being poisoned, just like have her be sick, you know, just have her be sick, and Sigma doing everything she can to make sure that life doesn't die, but then by the end, like, finally accepting that, like, sometimes, like, it's better to die and be peaceful. I think it would have been a beautiful story if it had been, like, her hating death because it takes everything away from her, to slowly, like, accepting death as a peaceful end for a lot of people, you know? Like, I think that would have been a really beautiful story, especially since, like, she has death powers, and then maybe they can both, like, agree to, like, live happily ever after. It would be cute! It would be cute. It would be cute, but that's not what happened. And that's okay, because again, I still had a good time with the story. I'm excited for the next one. There were other choices that she could have made to make this feel like, you know, I do like a little bit of a thought-provoking piece, regardless of what genre it is, you know? And I think, like, this could have been a great moment to have, like, a little, you know, take on, like, what is death? But I had a good time. It was fun. I liked the scene where Death dances with her. I thought that was really cute. And I think I do like their banter. I like when he is sitting at tea and he's like, want me to kill these people for being mean to you? Hee hee hee. I think that's funny. I thought it was funny. All around, I had a good time. I just think that, like, we could have gone harder, you know? And we could have, like, because she really does advertise this book as, like, gothic, and I feel like, essentially, why not go harder, you know? Like, let's just go harder. The next book is either going to be, like, really good, and I'm gonna be like, wow, this is perfect, or it's going to be very, like, it could have been one book, this is just the same murder mystery over again. Those are my thoughts. I liked this book. I really think, if you haven't read it, you should listen to the audio. The audiobook is incredible. I gave it, like, 4 stars. I had a great time reading it. There were things that I would change. For example, Sigma Farrell, make her independent. Make her a little more independent. She doesn't need a man. She doesn't need to marry, because she has a house that she literally has all of the money in the world. So why would she marry a man who will just take away more money from her? You know, like, why put her in high society? She doesn't need to be there, you know? Let her be a witch in the cottage. I also did like at the ending, like, Death was like, hey, like, stop taking berries, like, live your life. I will always be here, and I will see you when the time is right. But you should live your life. I think that was also good. I'm excited for the new one. I think it'll be fun. That's what I've got. Who knows how long I've been speaking for. Probably not that long. But good. I would recommend it. I'm excited for the second one. I think it'll either be really good or really mediocre. But I'm excited for it regardless. Next video I'm gonna film is probably going to be about the Hawthorne Legacy, because I'm listening to the Final Gambit right now. I have thoughts. I tried to finish it much earlier in October, but I listened to the second one and I was like, I can't be bothered. It was so bad. But that's what I've got for you guys. Yeah, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace, peace.